I'm going to be making some gloves with this Vogue V8311 pattern. View A here, or View B, they're the same glove pattern, just the different type of embellishments. I'm not putting any embellishments on. I'll be using this I think it's a poly cotton, I'm gonna have to double check, stretch knit. So I have cut out all of the pattern pieces I need for my gloves. I've laid them out on the fabric, making sure the grain lines are all going the same way. This is a 4-way stretch, so it doesn't really matter which way the grain line goes. I'll be tracing out the pattern pieces and then using my tracing paper to transfer all the markings over. I now have all 3 pattern pieces cut out so I can make 1 glove. I'll need to cut out a second set to make sure all the markings are transferred to the second set, and make sure that the thumb hole is on the opposite side. Otherwise, I will have the same glove for the same hand. You want 2 gloves, 1 for each hand, not 2 gloves for the same hand. I have cut out my second set, which I've labeled with a blue pin, and the first set I've labeled with a yellow pin. I do still need to cut out the thumb hole on each set, and then we can start sewing everything together. Now I need to sew at the bottom of the fingers, just around the bottom on each line. And then once I've sewn there, it'll be supported, so I can then cut and separate the fingers. I have my thumb pinned up here. I have some tissue paper to put under to help with the very thin 3mm or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Having the tissue paper behind the project will help stop the machine from eating the fabric, especially on the tip here. Oh no, it ripped. No. I was trying to avoid this. So I picked out the part that knotted. And now I'm just ripping some of the tissue paper away. Putting it on new tissue paper over here. And I'm gonna re-sew the curve, starting a little further back than where it knotted. Oh, it's making that bad sound again. Alright, I have sewn the thumbs closed. I did have to recut this one. It kept getting eaten up by my sewing machine, despite the tissue paper putting it behind and helping. So it just kept happening, and I still struggled with these two. But it's good now. It's fine. You can see there's still a little bit of getting eaten up here, but they are both closed and good. I have put in the support stitching for around the fingers on each glove as well. I will cut them when I am about to start sewing them. Next, it's to press the thumbs and then sew them into the gloves. I can check the size of the thumbs by pulling them on to my thumb and seeing how they look. Of course, it is hard to tell for sure until the actual body of the glove is there, but I can tell from the tip that it's a little big for like skin tight gloves, and because of the struggle with the tight curve up here, it does fit a little weirdly once it's on. But as you can see, the base of the thumb does seem to fit decently. Hopefully when sewing the full glove it will fit better, but the tip doesn't, and I'm not sure if I want to fiddle with it. It might be best to sew this part by hand for this type of fabric because the machine is giving me so much trouble with it. It's now time to sew in the thumb. So I'm going to insert it in here and make sure the tabs line up and the marks I transferred over from the pattern line up. I'm going to use my blue pins because they are thinner than my yellow pins. My yellow pins are quite thicker than the blue pins, so the blue pins I find are easier to use. So most of it seemed to have caught the underlayer, but there's this big chunk here that didn't. So I need to re-sew that part and double check some areas that may also need to be re-sewn. I've gotten both thumbs on without catching or missing any bit around. I now need to cut 2 inches of elastic for each glove. Gets installed here where the marks are. However, with the 4-way stretch, putting in the elastic is a little bit of a challenge. I have attempted to put it on this one, and if I stretch it here, you can see the material that damage I've done trying to put an elastic in. So I'm not going to. I have made these gloves before and they were fine without the elastic. So I'm just gonna keep going, skipping the elastic step. I'll have to cut the fingers now since it is time to sew the fingers together. So I'll be sewing along the little finger on the outside and then all the little markings from the big circles to the little circles on each fingertip. I have a little finger pinned up, so the two light blue pins I need to sew from there to there. I also will need to sew just a small tip bit on each of other fingers. Oops. It's a little bit off here. I guess it's not actually that bad. It's pretty curved. It just might be a little wider at the tip. I'm gonna finish up the other two fingers. So I have all the finger ends sewn on both gloves. And now it's time to move on to the gussets. So I need to cut them out and then sew this dart on each of the gussets. And then there's the big circles, the squares, and the little circles to line them up. I have sewn the darts in each of the gussets, and now I can pin them to in between each finger where they go. They are labeled on the pattern piece as D, E, and F, the main pattern piece. Each one is also labeled D, E, F, D, E, F. This one is E, so it will go in the middle. We'll go in the middle one. This one is D, so it goes between the pointer finger and the middle finger. And then this one is F, and it goes between the pinky and the ring finger. Okay, I have the first side of this gusset pinned in place. And now it's time to start sewing it. Hopefully, with my tissue paper, I will not have too many issues. Okay, it looks okay on this side. Oh, now you can see right there, I didn't catch it enough. I might need to unstitch along the edge and then re-sew it, just so that corner is caught, because that's going to be right in between, either on the top or the bottom. Not quite sure what side we're working on right now. I will do that, and I will finish the other side and then show you how it's becoming fingers. So I have finished sewing in the first gusset. Oh, I still have some tissue paper. I think, anyways, I do need to check it so I can show you how the fingers are turning out. Well, the first finger. As the gussets will form like one side of each finger. I have the pointer finger done on the glove and then side of the middle finger done. The next gusset will go in here and then the third gusset goes here. So only the thumb and pointer finger are currently finished. So you can see this. So this is the gusset that I sewed. A little wonky on the corner here. The tip of the finger is also a little bit wonky. So is the thumb still. I'm not sure if I'll be able to fix that. Like this fingertip is looking like it'll end up better when I get the other gusset on there. But this fingertip is a little weird. It might also be I didn't have enough seam allowance, so it is a little bit... Well, it's actually not that bad. I think it was not fully turned out. There's more finger, but my finger's not long enough. But you know what? There's just space if I grow my nails out longer. That's all it is. You can kind of see what it will look like finished. So you can see all the gussets are now sewn. There's fingers. There we go. Got them all turned right side out. You can see some of them have weird points on the tips. It's all right. It still works. The important part, like if you look on the back here, there's a lot of puckering around this area. And to avoid that, lining up the darts on all the gussets with like that line you cut down to make the fingers, that point is very, very important. And to get the proper seam allowance so it looks right. This one is a little wonky. I might go in with it on inside out and just make note of where the fingers are a little too big, like the ring fingers. Quite large at the top. But it also depends on your fingers and what kind of gloves you want. Alright, I have all the gussets sewn on both gloves. So I now have all my fingers and my thumbs connected. Now I just need to sew down the side of each glove and hem it, and we'll be done. I've sewn the hem on each glove. Now it's time to turn them right side out and show you the finished product. There we go. A pair of gloves. See if it'll fit over my watch. Should, because of the stretch fabric. There we go. Gloves are done. They're not perfectly skin tight, but they do fit really nice and they're very, very comfortable. So your thumb isn't in a weird spot. The fingers all fit nice. And there's rooms in the tips for long nails if needed. Nice long gloves. Not all the way to the elbow. You're about halfway between the wrist and the elbow. Could probably be taken in a few areas. You could do that easily by putting them on inside out and then sewing by hand while they're on. Just careful, don't poke yourself. Which view would you like to make if you have this pattern? And if you have this pattern, which one did you make and what material did you use? If you like this video, leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more sewing videos. See you next time.